All right. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Hey, we're doing it tonight, Sunday night, because I cannot do these things in the mornings anymore. I just got too much going on to get my day set up and get to work, take care of my kids and things like that. So I got to do these shows now at night, and then I will post them in the morning so y'all can get your day started. And nothing's going to change other than doing my prayer. I got it all set up here, doing prayer, doing Wayne Dyer. Going to go over some CDC statistics, coronavirus statistics it's from worldometers.info, which I find to be a better, credible, up-to-date source. And then, as the title says, using the Force, and I'm not talking necessarily about Star Wars type of stuff. I am and I'm not, more or less. I'm going to go into that later on. But the Force, of pushing your will onto people and making people do things. And also, there's the Force, which is, if you look at Star Wars and how they kind of know, they trust, they believe in themselves to have the power within to perform acts and things and manipulate their world based on that feeling, that vibe that they have, that energy that they use. That's the Force. Like, there's the dark side and there's the good side, right? And so it's like you can use the dark side has the more enviable powers than the good side. The good side only uses the Force for good. But that is God. That is that light. That is the feeling within that you can use that Force. So that it has its own kind of meanings in Star Wars too. I mean, it's kind of interesting when you know God and when you understand who God is and what that energy means. You start seeing it in everything. It's in movies, it's in books, it's in stories, it's around you. So you're surrounded by it. If you're paying enough attention, you can see that it's been written about and that it's been used, but it's been said in different ways and explained in different ways. So anyways, there's that. And then I'm going to go in the last bit of it. I'm going to tell you how I spend my days with my kids, my weekends, what the day's like and how I get through this stuff and how I kind of keep a positive, upbeat vibe. Because, times are stressful and, we gotta get through it somehow. We do. We got to get through it somehow. And that's why I do these shows, because I know that there's people that need that are out there. You're sitting at home. You're not working. There's not a lot to do. You're going stir crazy, and you need something that kind of lifts your spirits up so you got something to look forward to, get you going, get your day started, and so on and so forth. So let's get right to it. Let's do the prayer. As I always say, I do the same thing with my kids. It's like, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And slow yourself down. And if it takes you a few times to kind of get settled into that, that's okay too, because it does. That breath, really, it's amazing what the breath does. It's used in meditation, yoga, karate, Zen, Buddhism, all of that stuff. It is something that we take for granted, but when you really start using it effectively, it's amazing how effective it is. So you go, it will calm you down. It actually eases your stress and your anxiety. And it gets your mind into the right place. You're getting oxygen into your body, oxygen into your brain. It actually gets your body into a more alkaline state, which is good. It gives you energy. You can feel that energy source. You can feel it going into your stomach. It gives you kind of like a good vibe. It gets your nerves kind of, everything going, everything flowing in your body. So when you're sleeping, you're kind of just laying there and you're just breathing naturally. You're not thinking about breathing when you're sleeping, right? You're in your sleep pattern of breathing. And then when you wake up, it's a totally different level of breathing. You're now functioning on a more energetic level. So it's a different type of breath. And when you exert yourself, it's a different kind of breath. So when you're trying to relax, it's a different kind of breath. Okay, so you're just trying to settle down, get yourself into that mindset that you're ready to do prayer and get yourself going. So here we go. Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful day that we had this weekend that I get to have my kids. and all the sunshine. We got to be outside and exploring in the woods, and just the benefits and blessings that come upon my family. And we thank you for that, the roof over our heads and the food that we get to eat. And please send blessings to those who are struggling right now and those who really need help, and all the nurses and the doctors and the workers and the truckers and everyone who's in the field right now, and still working and still busting their butt for society to keep moving and getting the ventilators going. And especially the hospitals right now, that the people that are really stressing out about their jobs and what they're doing, and being around sick people and people that maybe aren't as friendly, and really need some extra encouragement to get them through their day. So please send them courage and send them strength. And from me to you, that's what I'm trying to do. So amen. God bless my family, and God bless your family too. I mean that. I sincerely do, because we need people to be on the same kind of meditative spiritual path. So we're vibrating that energy back and forth to each other, because that's how we're going to build strength for that next level. When we get through this, we're going to need to build people up. And that's the whole idea. So there's our prayer. Wayne Dyer of the day. This is getting back to it. This is the 6th verse of the Tao. Wayne Dyer labels it living creatively. And this is how it goes. The spirit that never dies is called the mysterious feminine. Although she becomes the whole universe, her immaculate purity is never lost. Although she assumes countless forms, her true identity remains intact. The gateway to the mysterious female is called the root of creation. Listen to her voice, hear it echo through creation. Without fail, she reveals her presence. Without fail, she brings us to our own perfection. Although it is invisible, it endures. It will never end. It's like the yin and the yang. For God is always been used in the term of he or him, and I don't really see it that way. I think the universe is the yin and the yang. It is the male and the female, is the father and the mother. We call Mother Earth. Yeah, maybe it is Mother Earth, because she is the one that creates the birth and creates life. And God from heaven, or God from the universe, allows that the seeds to be implanted. However you see it, whatever you see fit to see God, or see the universe, or see the Tao, whatever allows you to recognize that the energy is a balance between two things. It is a paradox. It's a paradoxical duality. Okay, you can't have one without the other, and you have to have both. They have to both exist for the world to exist as well. So keep that in mind, and recognize that the prayer is not something that I take lightly. That if you take it seriously, you will see the reward in it, and you will see the blessings in it, because it is setting down yourself to a place of gratitude and thankfulness for your life, and thankfulness for the world that you live in, and the things that you have, and the events that take place. Because everything that happens for a reason. And when you see it that way, it's a lot easier to accept it. It's a lot easier to accept life instead of fighting life. Because when things happen in your life and you're not one with the universe, you're constantly fighting that thing, that shouldn't have happened. And man, I can't believe this is happening to me. And I always have bad luck, and et cetera, and you just compound the negative. Instead of compounding the negative, you need to look for the lesson in it and say, why is this happening? And is it happening to make me change? Yes, it is. It's always happening to make you change. Even if it's good, it's happening to make you change. You always need to see that benefit in it, because even in good times, you got to see the time when maybe you got to improve. I did that really well, and pat yourself on the back. That was really good. But you got to keep going. You got to keep that positive energy flowing. And then when the bad comes into your life, and say, man, this was hard. This is a hard pill to swallow. Right now, what we're going through right now is very tough. And I hate to say it, but it's something we've needed for a long time, because our society, we're so broken in a lot of ways, and we're so distant from each other, that we needed to come back. we needed to recenter around what the purpose of life was. And you're starting to see that now. People now are settling into this kind of self-quarantining of they're going fishing and they're distancing themselves from technology and their normal routines, and everything has been shaken and flipped upside down, and people are having to revert back to normal human behaviors rather than this technological kind of matrix society that we've been accustomed to. Things are changing, and we're not going to go back to the way it was. I mean, as much as people want to envision that life is just going to return to the way it was, it's not going to return to the way it was, especially with the fact that things are going to change on the government level, on a societal level. People aren't going to look at each other the same way. They're going to see the germs that are around them. They're going to be more conscientious of life and things that they touch and who they see and who they talk to, the energies they feel. I mean, and then a lot of it, I think, is people are going to come together more. I mean, certainly there's going to be the social strife, but I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that really try to build a better world for ourselves on a more positive, more giving kind of life. And that's what we've needed. We've needed that for a long time. So anyway, just going over the basic information here from the worldometers.info website. Worldwide, we have 69,428 deaths, over 1,272,000 confirmed cases. Death rate based on those numbers is 5.5%. 262,331 have recovered. So there's still a lot of cases out there. What's intriguing, and I mentioned this before, is that about 5% of the people who contract this virus go into the serious or critical condition, which is right around the death rate of the virus as well, at the 5.5%. In the U.S., we're looking at 9,616 total deaths, 336,673 confirmed cases for a 2.9% death rate. 17,977 have recovered. And we all know that there's a lot of information that is being spread. It's really hard right now to determine what is true and what isn't true, what media sources to trust, who do you believe, and how can you believe it? And it's like the source says, experts have said, or scientists have claimed, or that these 5 scientists have said. And the bottom line is, I mean, are there evil people in the world? Yes. Are there good people in the world? Yes. So who are we to trust, and who are we to know who's good and who's bad? There's bad scientists too. There's scientists who have evil intentions. I mean, Joseph Mengele studied people. This is where a lot of this stuff has come from, is from the Nazis, studying people on that psychological level, using people as lab rats for the most part. And so when you look up information from the media, who is it that you're supposed to believe? Because there's information that I've read that shows this whole thing is really just, it's a joke. Not a joke because people are dying, but a joke because the death rate isn't the 5.5% worldwide, because we don't know who's had it. We don't know who's been tested. Not everybody's been tested. So please don't think that I'm not empathetic or sympathetic to the situation. Like, I understand, like, this is a serious, I take this seriously. I've quarantined myself. I've done all the social distancing practices. I haven't taken this for granted at all. But how serious is it? Because we've completely shut down society, and look at what's happening to our society. The nurses are stressed out. There's actually nurses that aren't working as much as they thought they would be working because there's not as high demand. There's nurses that are overworking. There's people that are overwhelmed by this situation. The people that are sitting at home that are overwhelmed. The amount of stress that people are dealing with right now is at the highest level probably in the history of mankind. And on top of that, because of the drugs that people need to take, their anti-anxiety medication, stress, depression pills, all that other stuff, coupled with it, with their kids at home. And we weren't prepared for something like this as a society. Like, this is pushing our societal limits right now. So because of how we're reacting to it, and the question has to be, what is going to be more of an adverse effect to our life. Yes, we want to protect lives and we want to save lives. Like, that is the number one priority. That's why I bring these conversations up. I don't bring these conversations up because I'm ignorant. I bring them up because I want to get down to the truth of the matter of what is going to kill us more. Because right now, society's cracking. We're having a very hard time dealing with this and sitting at home and being stir crazy. And then we're having to go to the grocery store and wait in lines. And then food is going to be hard to come by, and toilet paper and all those things. I mean, life isn't normal by any stretch of the imagination. Nothing is functioning the way we are accustomed it to being. And people are having a very hard time with this. And is that good? Is that a good situation? Are suicides going to go up? Do those people not matter? Do the jobs and careers of people do not matter? Or the businesses that have shut down, do they not matter? Because people are going to lose their lives based on on how we've handled this whole thing, let alone that this virus is going to spread itself anyway. And that goes into my next kind of segment portion of this, is that how do you force people to do anything? Because all I see, or a lot of what I see on Facebook, is people demanding that people stay home. Stay home, like the hashtag stay home. It could save lives. And that's the part that kind of gets me, is it could save lives. So we're hoping it saves lives, because really, yeah, I mean, if we all quarantine and nobody left their houses, the virus wouldn't be able to spread. And that would be the ideal situation. But how do you force people to do that? Because we have a hard enough time telling our kids what to do, let alone full-grown adults who think for themselves. Now, the only way to give, and I've said this before, the only way to force anybody to do anything is at gunpoint. That's a slave. A slave is someone who is forced to do something, because if they don't do it, they're dead. That's the only way to force man to do anything. So the only way to force people to stay home is martial law. So unless we're under martial law, people saying on Facebook and yelling at people to stay home, you might as well be yelling at the trees. You might as well be yelling into the wind. Like the wind's blowing against your face and you're screaming at it. It ain't going anywhere. It's going on deaf ears, because you can't force people to do anything unless it's at gunpoint. And the same thing goes for anything. We could solve a lot of the issues in our society with health issues. I mean, to me, the pandemic isn't the virus. The pandemic is our health problem. The pandemic isn't health insurance. It's our health problem. It's our irresponsibility with our health, because we don't take care of ourselves at all. And then when we have a pandemic where we're limited to go to the grocery store, everyone's worried about bread, eggs, and milk. Well, bread, eggs, and milk aren't going to protect you from a virus. You know what is? Fruits, vegetables, and water. Lots of water. Not bread, eggs, and milk. And see, this is what's so insane, right? So in reality, we should be forcing people to buy fruits and vegetables and drinking a crap ton of water. But are we going to be able to do that? Are you going to force people to be healthy? No, you can't force people to be healthy unless you do it at gunpoint. So you're going to have somebody at the grocery store point a gun at everybody's head that doesn't buy fruits and vegetables? Are you going to make them eat it? Are you going to make them take the Doritos out of their shopping cart, or their Cheez-Its, or their cookies, or their ice cream, or their whatever? No, you ain't going to do that. It seems silly, right? But that is more of a threat to lives. Not eating healthy is more of a threat to lives than this damn virus, because the virus attacks unhealthy people. It attacks smokers, immune disordered people, older people, and people that have weakened cells. That's what viruses attack, is weak cells, because we haven't been taking care of our bodies. So if you're eating healthy, you have a better chance of survival. You have a better chance of defeating this virus and defeating any virus or bacteria. Do you think this is the only virus or bacteria that's floating around in the world? No. Our immune system fends off thousands of viruses and bacteria every year that we don't even know about. This one happens to be a little bit more contagious and effective, but your body is capable. It is born capable for the most part. Some people, unfortunately, aren't that lucky, but for the most part, on a general scale, most people are born with bodies that can take care of themselves. We're like plants. It's amazing to me that we're sitting here waiting for a government that has failed miserably for the last 50 to 60 years, has forced us to take drugs and vaccinations and fed us garbage food, and is sitting there not saying anything about how to eat healthy, and is basically like, we're going to come up with a drug or a vaccination to cure your problems. And we're all sitting here like waiting inside our homes, like waiting for the day that the vaccination's created. And then what? We're all going to hop onto a train to an internment camp that has the vaccinations? What, you think that's crazy? No, because that's what's going to happen. People are going to line up to go to the hospital to get a vaccination to be cured of this virus. And the government's going to enforce it. They're not telling us to eat healthy and drink more water and eat more fruits and vegetables, to think more like a vegan or a vegetarian, which is more natural to our body's state. Because that's what's going to keep you alive. That's what's going to end this fear of this whole thing. And that's the force on the other side. So there's the force, there's the human force, which is forced by gunpoint, forced by vaccination, forced by internment camp. And then there's the force of God, which is when you believe in the force of God, it makes me think, Jason, I watched this movie last night. It was called Bilal. It was a cartoon, and I watched it with my kids. It was a little bit aggressive for my 9-year-old and my 5-year-old, but there wasn't any blood. It was just, there were some violent points in it, but it was about this guy, this Muslim fellow, years ago. Apparently it was a true story, who was a slave, who stood up for his rights, who stood up for himself, and even on the verge of death, refused to give in to the king, because he would rather die a free man inside than to do as the king wished and live as a slave. We are not slaves. Slaves are forced to do things at gunpoint. We are free people, and the only way to be free of everything, free of fear, free of man, is to be free inside. And this is what this movie talked about. There was a lot of good messages in that movie about how to break the chains that hold you back inside. And those chains are anger and frustration and resentment and fear and guilt and worry and anxiety and stress and depression and all those things that hold you back. Those are your chains. Those are your chains. There's nobody else's chains. You own those chains. And only you can break those chains. And the way to break those chains is to believe in that other force, the force of God, that you know God is there for you. God is not there to be against you. God is there for you. And when you give yourself to God, amazing things happen. Amazing things happen for you. And even if you don't, you are no longer afraid. You are now free, because you are free here. You are free here. You are free in your chakras and free in your energy, and you are free and ready to go and open to God's will, God's love. That is opening your heart to it. And so you are no longer afraid. You're no longer afraid of death. For what? Why be afraid of death? Death is what happens. It's a natural occurrence in this life. There's life and there's death. And in between, there's friggin' taxes and government force, which is man-made. So which would you rather believe in? Would you rather live in the fear of the force of man, or live in the force and love of God? For the latter is the one that sets you free. It's one to think about. But that movie Bilal, Bilal, was a really good movie, and it's a recommendation I would have for you to check it out. So continuing on, my last piece of this whole thing, we're 25 minutes. I just wanted to talk to you about my day with my kids. I have a lot of lessons, and I wish, honestly, I had kind of like a GoPro when I'm out there with my kids, because there's so many times I'm out there and I'm teaching them something that I wish I had recorded. So the last 2 days, we have a good plot of land. We have about 10 acres, and our property has a lot of woods. Now, I've been wanting to make a trail through the woods, a walking path, because at some point I would like to build yurts for people to rent out, mostly in the warmer parts of the year, that nature people, they could bring their canoes and kayaks and their fishing gear, because there's lakes and stuff close by. There's a mountain to go hiking, biking, they can go mountain biking. There's a winery close by. There's a lot of outdoorsy kind of activities. And it'd be really cool to just do Airbnb type of little cabin yurt things with outdoor cooking places, and maybe a hand pump well and a walking path, that went through the woods. I thought that'd be really nice. So my boys and I got that started this weekend. We ended up kind of clearing it and finishing it, which was great. Found one of the property markers. It was cool. It was a really good day. I mean, it's just, the cat followed us, which is cool. I got 3 cats and the boy cat. I got 2 girl cats and a boy cat. And the boy cat follows us out there. His name is Bear. And he followed us out there on our path. And I'm out there with the chainsaw. And the kids are having a good time. They're cleaning up brush. And we finished all doing that. And we must have spent, we were home all weekend. And we must have spent the 2 days basically outside the entire time. We went inside maybe at 6 or 7 o'clock, had dinner, kids watched a little bit of television. That was about the end of the day. But for the most part, it's like we're outside, we're getting the fire pit going, cleaning up brush, doing work in the yard, throwing the baseball, playing cornhole, just having, listening to music and just enjoying time together, and doing things outside as much as possible, because it's been kind of rainy and wet the last week. It was a bit rainy and wet. And then of course winters are long, so we got a lot of snow cover and it's cold and we don't go outside as much. So when the sun's out, this time of year, it's like, man, when it's 50 degrees, it feels like 75. It's like you can't wait to get outside. So Gabriel's being real interested in playing baseball. He's going to be 10 in June. And so I'm teaching him how to play baseball. He never really played before. He played t-ball a couple of years ago, and then he wasn't like that motivated by it. So I'm teaching him how to play. Now, I wasn't the greatest baseball player, growing up. I mean, I played Little League. I started when I was 9. We won the championships when I was 9. I played all-star teams when I was 11 and 12. I could pitch, I could catch, I played third base. I could play pretty much any position, but the pitcher, catcher, and third base were my positions. And so I played some baseball in my day. And so I'm teaching Gabriel how to throw properly. And it all goes back, everything I've noticed, a pattern in sports compared to, karate, basically, or yoga, which is warrior pose. If you're familiar with yoga and karate, and you can look it up if you're not, it's called warrior pose. And throwing a baseball, or hitting a baseball, or throwing a football, or whatever, frisbee, whatever it is that you're doing, you're in a particular position, ready to go, slightly bent knees, in a position to throw the ball. And so I use this level of understanding with my kids, because we've done a little bit of the yoga and karate together. And so he understands it. And so I'm working with him, and I say to him, Gabriel, everything is particular, and you can always improve. No matter how good you think you are, you can always get better, because he's one of those kids that's like, once he learns how to do something, he thinks he's great at it. So it's like my job to knock him down a few pegs. So I'm like, dude, when you first started riding a bike, were you amazing at it, or are you better now? And of course, that's an easy answer for him. He's better now because he's been practicing and riding his bike. And that's why I say to him, I say, well, it's because you ride your bike a lot, right? So it's like the more you ride your bike, the better you get at it. And then at some point you start doing jumps, and then you start doing tricks, and then you're not riding with any hands on the handlebars, and you're doing all kinds of stuff with your bike that you couldn't have done when you first started riding, because at that time you were just happy you could stand up. And I said the same thing is with baseball, and the same thing is with anything. You have to have good technique. You have to make sure that you don't develop bad habits, because that's what's happened with him in baseball. Is I haven't worked on baseball with him really. I've just kind of let him go, just throwing the baseball with him over the last couple of years. And now that he wants to get serious, I'm like, okay, now we need to focus on doing things correctly with the right mechanics. And so the position, the stance, warrior pose, just like karate, and then position with the arm, position with the shoulder, and then I'll show him. We went and looked at a video on how to properly throw a baseball. I mean, something that seems so simple, so basic, but so important to be able to play the position. Because if you're not doing this thing correctly with the right mechanics, then you're not as effective as you could be. And isn't that the point? Like, professionals are the best at doing the little things well. That's the whole key to doing anything. It's not just in sports. It's no matter what you do. The reason I'm so good at my painting business is because I care so much about what I do and the little things that make it go. I care about the chemical balance of the application to the product. And that's just the nature of everything you do. Don't take anything lightly. Don't take anything for granted. Always work hard. Always try to improve. Always try to do better. Give yourself a pat on the back. Be proud of yourself that you got where you're going, that you didn't give up, that you haven't stopped. But don't get complacent with it. Don't just be satisfied. Be unsatisfied that you're, in a way that's motivating, that says, here I go. Today's another day in the right step, the next direction that I can do a little bit better. Like maybe I can get with throwing the baseball. Maybe I can throw it a little bit more accurately with a little bit more speed. And that's the goal, right? Be more like a pitcher. So that's how I teach my kids in that regard, and never to give up on themselves. Gabriel has a tendency to give up on himself very quickly and get upset and kind of get down and stop trying so hard. And it's something that I battled for a long time with him. He still does it. And, it's hard. I remember I hated losing too. It's no fun to lose. Nobody likes losing. But losing teaches you how to get back up and do it again. It's like I would say to him, well, Gabriel, when you fell off your bike 2-3 times, did you stop riding your bike? No, you scraped yourself up off the dirt. It hurt. You had some scrapes, some scabs that were reminders of what happened. And you got back on your bike and you made sure you didn't make the same mistake. Now, if you kept making the same damn mistake, then you'd be talking about a totally different story. But you didn't. You got up, you got back on your bike, and you didn't make the same mistake again. And that's the same as everything else. Just because you don't make it, just because you lose, just because you fail, doesn't mean you failed at life. It just means you have something to work on and you have something to improve on. And don't we all? That's the thing with, same thing with me, with these videos. I think I keep making these videos better. Maybe I'm wrong. I could always use some critique, but, whatever. You send them to me. I'll look into it. I'd like to have some feedback, and then we can start a dialogue. So anyways, I'm going to end it on that. You can reach me at logicalhippie@gmail.com. My Facebook page is Light News. And this show has been brought to you by... Oh, I lost it. The show is brought to you by Kangen water. Electrolyzed, ionized, reduced, rapid cellular hydration water. Yeah, they don't pay for the advertising, but I'll give it to them for free anyway. Because you know what? It works. Anyway, you all have an awesome Monday. And, check in with me. If you guys need to talk about something, check in. and I'll do the best I can to answer your questions and give you guys the kind of hope and energy that you all need. I pray for you. I really do. I hope you all have an awesome Monday. Namaste.